Hi, everybody. We should be live now. Dude, you need to sit back.
Yeah, I can't see the screen from here, so she'll have to.
Hi, David. If everybody can see us and hear us, let me freaking know. I need to know what's going on.
That's it. Let her freaking know.
Well, since I'm in charge of this, hi, Brian. How goes it?
Was this from this weekend? This was from an earlier trip, right?
That was from an earlier trip, but yeah, you can show that off. That's one of my guys that I cleaned up. Now, is that an exuberant crystal cluster or what? I mean, that dude is just exuberant all over the place. Beautiful, beautiful crystal. One of mine. Hi, Lars.
Hey, Lars. Hey, everybody. I can't read a damn thing.
His eye is still all messed up, so I'm going to be reading him your questions off the screen so that he's not sitting forward with the magnifying glass, looking like an idiot.
This.
Yeah.
That makes it kind of rough on you folks. Suppose we could move the camera somewhere, but we don't know exactly where to. Anyhow. So.
Yeah, that crystal cluster, Lars, is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, photos do not do that dude justice. He is just amazing. Speaking of photos not doing anything justice, I want to show you a good close-up of a pan. That is one of our interesting different sizes of gold going on in there. And it looks better on the little screen than it does for you, Bear. But that is one of our pans. Hi, Mr. Virtue. That was some of the stuff that's coming out of the sluice at the moment. What was interesting about this is you got a lot of the really... You got several different sizes of chunks, and I noticed when I was playing with it to improve my panning technique that it self-classifies by size pretty damned well, actually. So I was happy with that.
Yeah, she was using an oscillating, sloshing technique, etc., and it was forming clumps depending on the size. Quite interesting physics. Not sure what's going on, but there's physics happening.
So I'm going to get in here and show you a couple more pictures while we got the picture thingy going on at the moment. This is a view of the same gold pan from further out. That one's just,
Now,
you know, this is what the full little smiley looked like on this one.
Now, was that previous close-up? Was that done with just your
That was done with my smartphone.
Without anything
that was
special? Huh?
Smartphone, nothing special.
Okay.
This is the coarse material. Let me see if I can get that out there. This is the coarse material on the left-hand side of that. And notice the quartz crystals that come with it. That is some clear quartz that we get with this. And it's so, so pretty in person. And it air floated up the pipe from the mill, Brian. It most certainly did. And it floats right up there. So, you know.
The question is, and somebody, the claim owner brought it up, does our production of gravity concentratable gold seems to be substantially less than previously? This question is, well, maybe it's too coarse to get out of the mill. And the answer to that is, it may be, but it hasn't been a problem in the past. When we kind of the plan is when we're done with a 1,500-pound load for the agitation tank, I'll take the effort to pop the cover off of the mill and wash it all out and such, and that will give us a clear indication of how much coarse gold may still be trapped. And that would be a nice problem. I would like to, slosh it out and have about a half an ounce of gold sitting there. But I think that's going to happen.
That would be a cool problem. And now I wanted to show you some of the exemplars that gold came from. This guy is one of our sugar dudes. I'm going to get him up here for you. This is a sugar dude. He's got very, very fine-grained sugary quartz going on in there with very, very mild mineralization. That is one of the most mineralized ones we have. And you'll notice up here on the top, the voids have active crystals growing in them. The beginnings of crystal gardens. No idea why that is. Now, notice, since people wanted to know what scale is, I decided to draw a ruler on the box that I take pictures on. So now y'all got a ruler, marked off in 1-inch increments. This is a side view of the same dude, and this one shows you that the sugar guys are not very homogeneous, I believe the word would be. They usually have bands in them of sugar quartz that is interspersed with voids that have those nice crystals in them, actual crystalline formations like this. They can get pretty darn toothy at times. So that is what one of these guys looks like.
Now, when she says sugar quartz, basically she means like a coarse texture, but a fairly fine one, as opposed to big slabby sort of stuff, which is what she calls the flaky dudes, which seem to be calcite in terms of it would scratch and it would fizz when hit with acid.
Well, I break for bedrock. That is actually quartz. I mean, my quartz crystal clusters come from the exact same place. These guys are quartz. And, you know, what's going on here, these are the guys that for some reason, and the crystal clusters are producing the gold at the moment.
The highest.
And yes, David, it's crumbly. When it goes through the RC46, these sugar guys come out looking like the clear crystals in that gold pan I showed you a couple of minutes ago. Very uniform size of broken crystal, about the size of grains of sugar. The toothy parts, if you will, the parts that are actual crystal clusters and crystal points, break up in a more flaky manner.
All of this stuff from top of the hill crushes in the jaw crusher much easier than like the kryptonite from Montana B. This stuff, it does fracture pretty easily. It's usually pretty easy to smash with a sledgehammer. That's what you're seeing there. A larger rock, smash it with a sledgehammer to break it into pieces about the size that we need for the RC46, load it in buckets and bring it home.
Now this guy, I just basically call him a layered person. Now what we see here is you have a lot of the sugary quartz and a few actual quartz crystals that are typical hexagonal shape. But we also have these large planar flakes.
Mm-hmm. And that would be where it would scratch and right?
Brian, we still have not found a freaking quartz vein in place. We're sitting here with a dump that is about 20% quartz, okay? And there is still no quartz vein in place. Go figure that one out.
Very annoying, but hilarious.
So this is one side of this dude,
Now
and you can see he's got the planar, the larger
That would be
flakes.
soft and fizzy, right?
Yeah, and those we assumed, those types of flakes were calcite because they were fizzy where the rest of this guy was not. These guys, this guy is pretty much half. These parts are crystal, they're quartz, they're extremely hard, they do not scratch, they do not fizz. Yet on the other side, he's got those planes and surfaces that do fizz, that are softer. No, we haven't found the highest place on the mountain that it shows up yet, Brian. All I can tell you is this. We did find more quartz this week while we were wandering around. We found what? 4 pieces of float.
Were all those on the road there?
They were all on the road, and they were at a higher elevation than our dump.
Yeah.
Where they came from is anybody's guess.
But probably a quarter mile away.
Yeah. And this guy is an even more marked example of fizzies and quartz in the same rock. This one, when I tested him, these surfaces over here on the left-hand side, which when you hold them up, the light goes through them. These ones all float quartz, David. They all come from my dump, which is as floaty as you can get at this point. When you hold this up to the light, the quality of light that shines through it would remind you of those old school alabaster lamps, like from the freaking 1920s, okay? This stuff fizzes. On the same rock, in a different area, we have plenty of things that do not fizz. Over here is a barrier. This is where things come up together. Everything to the right of this vertical line here does not fizz. Half the stuff to the left of it fizzes. Go figure.
Now, you say fizzes and stuff. Everything that fizzes also scratches, and everything that doesn't fizz doesn't scratch, correct?
Exactly.
Right.
And they sound different when you crush them up. This is another face on the same rock, a non-fizzy face in this part. That is quartz. Up here, good luck, probably calcite.
A little out
And-
of focus there.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking for a better shot of that guy. And this guy, shot of that guy right here. But here you see the difference in the planar faces on this. Whatever this material is, we can tell you this. At night, this material does not fluoresce under a black light. It's not euprolitic because we were down at the dump in the dark with the black light, and the only thing that glowed, that fluoresced, was the biologics. It does fizz, and as you can see in this picture, it scratches. It scratches very well.
Yeah, there's a couple scratches. That, by the way, that's with a razor knife.
Yeah, that was with a razor knife. That wasn't even with his pocket knife.
So they're probably harder than my pocket knife.
But yet this upper area here, the knobby part at the top, does not fizz and does not scratch. So, it's very, very interesting. Have no clue what the heck these guys are up to. But then again, they are kind of bizarre. This is a better shot of the same guy. You can see the top area here is very rounded. It's very organic. That is actual quartz. That's the sugar quartz. And it's just kind of growing out of the planar and angular and translucent, almost alabaster material. I'm going to have better pictures of that this coming week because I found a couple of really large, extraordinary crystals of it. So, Dave Vanderwall says, Keith, I switched my crusher plates to 3/8 mild steel and hard faced them. He gets 1/4 minus from it, a lot easier on the dust maker. Hi, Dave.
So you're talking the wear plates in your jaw crusher. You made 3/8. You took 3/8 plates so that it gets a tighter gap. Is that what you're saying, Dave? And with an RC46, that would be pretty easy to do to get a smaller and smaller gap.
You know, Mr. Virtue, you have a great time with your family, and happy Labor Day, everybody.
So, yeah, the smaller the material that you feed into your impact mill, the less wear you're going to get.
Well, I break for bedrock. I kind of wondered whether we might have a feldspar going on here. I can tell you that the crystal forms tend not to be lamellar. They tend to be very cubic in nature. And as I said, when you hold up this stuff to the light, it looks for all the world like freaking alabaster. I mean, it looks like those 1920s style lampshades.
Now, the term cubic has a very specific term. It means 90-degree angles.
Yeah, they're 90-degree angles all over the place, dude. They're cubic. I know what the word means. I got a nice big one sitting, I think it's,
Well, and feldspar does not fizz. When you put acid on feldspar, it just sits there.
yeah, that's the only thing I break for bedrock is, it fizzes with the hydrochloric.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, it does fizz with the hydrochloric. And I can tell you, when we landed some of that stuff in the tank, one of the problems we've been having with the stuff from top of the hill in the tank is the chemical consumption has gotten pretty darn ridiculous, and keeping the pH up has been pretty darn ridiculous. It seems to be a very acid ore, for lack of a better term. But when we landed some of this stuff in the tank by accident, the pH has been staying more stable. So that makes sense considering it fizzes. It's got to be basic. Brian, I don't know if it's barite. Never seen barite.
I don't believe so. Barite tends to have more tabular crystals, and we don't seem to be seeing that, but I could certainly not guarantee. I also do not believe barite will fizz. If Rock was here, he might be able to.
Yeah, and the other thing is, whatever it is, it's pretty darn heavy. I mean, the rocks that have those bands of material in them are just about as heavy as the quartz. And yes, Dean, I Break for Bedrock does have a channel. It is an excellent, excellent channel.
Yeah, they Break for Bedrock does a lot of metal detecting in the desert down there in Arizona. They're nice guys. We've actually, seen them personally and such.
They have an amazing channel, and they were doing some dry washing that was really well.
Now, if you had any questions on metal detectors, those are the guys I'd ask.
I know they ain't diamonds, Brian. I wish they were diamonds. Wrong shape. They're not.
And they scratch.
They're not dodecahedral, and they scratch.
Yeah, they scratch. That would be highly unlikely if it was a diamond. But anyhow, so that gives you a little bit more of the mineralogy there.
You gotta show them my crystal cluster again. Show them that dude again.
Okay, show me crystal cluster again. Again, I can't read the comments worth the darn here because my eye is messed up. I will say this about Montana Eye Care. They do a very good job of calling you back and seeing how things are going. On Friday, they called back again to see how things were going. Is the blurriness gone? Is the irritation gone? The answer to both questions was nope. So they asked me to come on in, and I did so. And they had a different doctor this time, and he looked at it, and he's like, I think you still got some more rust stain in there that I ought to get rid of. Let me check and see what's going on here. And
Here,
so did some more polishing.
Here is a better. Here.
Just a second.
I Break for Bedrock says it's a nice specimen. That is a small example of our calcite type material.
Okay. So here
I will be out to read
is
comments in a minute.
pretty much a single chunk of what we believe is calcite. And I'm going to try and, I think you can see how flat, yeah, there we go. I got a flash there. See how flat that plane is? And then, take out my razor knife. And And presumably you can see the scratches on that. And this will also fizz. So it presumes that this is carbonate. Okay?
Here is a larger piece of the same material that came off a piece of quartz.
And here's another chunk of it here.
Hi, everybody. I'm working on it.
Okay, so Dave
Hi,
said,
Mr.
yes, I
Loda.
presume that's to plates on the RC46. Let's see if I can get this to flash here.
Yeah, if you could shine a light from behind it, you could see.
Well, I can try that too and see.
Oh, wow, Dean.
What?
Well, I hope you get to feel better. Just got out of the hospital, huh? Yikes.
Oh, yeah. That'll work well.
Yeah, take a look at what happens. See what I mean when I said it's like one of those old-fashioned lampshades?
Yeah.
Literally, the color of it reminds me of alabaster. I have no idea what alabaster actually is, but this shit looks like it. Dean, you definitely get some sleep, and I hope you're feeling better. That is really cool. I told you.
I think it is calcite. It may not fluoresce simply because it's got other stuff in it to kind of make
Now,
it.
if you take a look at the side here, you'd have to feel it, but you can see from the side it appears to be peeling off in layers. Feel it on the back.
So, anyhow, it's awfully hard for me to avoid going, eh.
Yeah, well, sit back. Well, anyway,
So anyhow, he took the little optical Dremel tool and dremelated a little more on my cornea. Unfortunately, the affected area is right in the center of my cornea. So, if anything, my visual acuity is a little worse than last week at this time. But we shall see what we shall see. Anyhow, luckily, she knows how to drive, so not a huge problem.
it's a parallelogram.
Yeah, it is a parallelogram.
Actually, the other ones I saved were 90s.
Well, that's not. And
No, this broke off something else.
that's diagnostic. But anyhow, so that's the situation there, and I was able to dig to bedrock in the bottom of that trench. Saw the video from this week, and I'm highly confident I was actually in moderately competent bedrock. And yet I could see no structure that looked like a crack or anything like that they were following. Not that there might not be something there. I didn't have a brush and water to literally wash it off. I'll try and do that next time we're there. We may not go out in the field this weekend. When we took material this weekend, we pulled different stuff from different areas and marked buckets so that we can process it in kind of batches. For example, the quartz that I uncovered while digging out that trench is one sample. The quartz from up above near the place where I thought it was a vein last video, when I was digging that out, that's a different sample. The stuff from the north side of the dump, which is the area we first worked, which seemed to have the best quality in terms of grade, is marked. The calcite material from that area is a separate sample marked as such. And then the sugar quartz from the lower dump, we just didn't mark at all. That was kind of the production for this week. So we got to take all those samples and crush them separately, process them separately, and kind of see what's going on. So we'll be working out the mill quite a bit this week, doing that, trying to see what's going on. and see if we can identify a particular zone, a particular type of rock, or whatever that is especially advantageous. Hi, honey bunny.
Hi, honey bunny.
See, I don't even need to be able to read that because it's so long.
And you missed seeing my amazing crystal cluster that I cleaned this week. So it gets to be seen again.
So, anyhow, that's kind of the plan there. But since we're having, we thought that
Brian says, is it a collapsed vein that was above grade and may show up downhill?
that is a possibility. The surface detritus at the upper end of the disturbed area seems to contain quartz, whereas the highly decomposed bedrock layer beneath it, or what appears to be such, does not.
Oh, honey bunny, that I have got some gorgeous ones. That dude, he did not show that dude off very well. That dude has all kinds of exuberance going on.
Anyhow, so it may be that in this area we're getting a lot of what you might call residual quartz alluvium. I do not know.
I break for bedrock. How many pounds of crystal clusters would you say I have by now? I probably
100.
got about 100 pounds of crystal clusters that I have to clean. A lot of them are. Well, let me get one to show you the other
Get
variety.
that box and show them just the box from this trip.
Nah,
Just the box itself. I'm not talking
show
about
them the large scale of the crystals. Some of them are large scale, like that. Some of them are a mix of large scale and small scale.
Yeah.
Exuberant dudes.
Yeah, they're not large quartz crystals.
And then there's ones like this that have the added voids here and there.
And then we have like this.
I don't know if you can actually see
And on the video you saw a pile of them. There's still
Hi, Shane.
stockpiled there. And so that kind of gives you an idea. We got some rocks that are really cool. But that's in the bucket still on the trailer, isn't it? The one with the chunk with the big cavities in it filled with quartz.
No, the miniature crystal gardens are still up at the dump.
Still out there?
Yeah, they're coming home.
Whatever.
They're being specially transported.
Yeah.
I found some really extraordinary ones this weekend that I need to wrap up. Oh, they are beautiful. I break for bedrock. Believe me, he did not do them justice. I have to take good pictures.
They're cleaning up very nicely.
Hi, Shane.
Another thing this weekend was there was a lot of smoke. Matter of fact, right now there is a lot of smoke around. Let me take a quick peeky poo.
Yeah, we had forest fires around again.
Well, I can manage to make up the scratch gravel, so visibility is probably about 3 or 4 miles in smoke.
Make gold great again. Yeah, we wish.
So we,
Actually, I want to make silver great again.
this is the first time we actually saw Forest Service people out there.
Yeah.
What they were doing was basically scoping things out, kind of pre-positioning, because there was a fire, I don't know, 5 to 10 miles upwind of us. And so they were kind of getting a ground plan ready and this and that and the other, and just sitting around. So that was interesting. They seem pretty focused on that. But yeah, this whole situation is frustrating because at the disturbed area, we have these large quantities and reasonably high percentages. I'm guessing 5% of the dump is like quartz, which would make me think that there might be a lot of quartz in bedrock. But
And these aren't little rocks either.
yeah, these are like this big, some of them. Now, because we're not finding any, I think that Chris Georgie's idea of maybe it's more quartz residual and we need to look uphill may have merit, although I don't see any sticking up out of the ground, but as heavily as this has been gone over, they might have been dug up if they had been. So it's not horribly surprising.
I want to find a crystal garden in place.
But
Come on.
But anyhow, it's been thoroughly picked over.
Juan says he found some nice chunks of sugar crystal quartz at Lynx Creek a few weeks ago. That's cool.
Over by Prescott, I presume. But anyhow, so it's frustrating trying to figure out what the heck the old timers were digging potholes and trenches everywhere for. Because whenever we dig in the bottom of a pothole or a trench, all we find is unmineralized host rock without any quartz in it.
And it should be noted that we have looked at many, many other dumps next to all kinds of trenches. And in none of the dumps next to trenches have I found any quartz at all. The float we found on a road that's above, probably 200 feet above in elevation?
Vertically, yeah.
Vertically, but it's like a half a mile away or so.
A quarter to half a mile away horizontally.
It's the only quartz we have found anywhere outside of that immediate area.
Well,
And there's no indication as to how the heck it got there.
the other places we found quartz is wherever there's been significant mining activity, not just potholes and test trenches, but I mean actual adits and dumps and things like that.
And Juan says, yep. Hi, Chris. Chris Saucier.
Yeah.
Hello.
So it,
Got to do some more surface stripping, huh? Yeah.
it would be nice.
That's what I'm wondering, Brian. I'm wondering if that road cut through a dang vein. I already told him, since that road happens to be on a patented claim, and we happen to know who owns the patented claim, and parts of the road have had, like, gouging through them from the water and everything, washed out a little bit. I'm pretty sure we could get away with taking a mattock and maybe leveling out the road a little and fixing it. And if we run into warts along the way, well, hey.
What would be nice to do would be to take a grader, like a 14G, a little heavy, but that would be nice. And then just take the corner bit and cut a trench along the side of the road, throw the material up onto the road for the moment, and examine the material as you go through it, and then just spread it back out again. When you're
Shane
done.
says he thinks it's epithermal. Brian says need a magnetometer trace done. David says water cannon time. And Jean-Francois, bonsoir, Jean-Francois. Comment allez-vous? Show Jean-Francois my crystals. You missed the crystals,
such an
so I'm
exhibitionist.
going to show them off again.
She just wants me to show her stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's an exuberant dude. You can't get exactly, honey bunny. See, my thought is, if we're fixing the road because there's like this deep gouged out area in it from rain and runoff and everything, well, I mean.
Let's say, I don't know. An excavator is a more general purpose tool, but a big grader.
Shane says, I think it's one little vein outcropping that comes vertically out of that hill.
I have no clue.
Would not surprise me at this point, but I'll tell you, what's really annoying about it is basically there isn't very much host rock outcropping on that hill either. Because the host rock is so shaly and so siltstony then it gets like peeled off and, you know.
Well, it has thin soil coating on it, but yeah, it weathers pretty quickly. The other thing is, it's not like the disturbed area is one of the few places on the hill where somebody's dug. We're talking dozens upon dozens upon dozens
Yeah, it looks like it was
of
carpet.
holes and ditches. Yeah, I mean, it looks like, something in Vietnam where there's just holes everywhere. Not that big, of course. But I mean, that sort of thing. And it's just really surprising to me that with that many exploration pits or whatever, we can't reliably figure out what the hell they were detecting, as in why dig this spot instead of that one 10 feet over there. I mean, sometimes these pits are 20 feet apart, whole freaking hill. Okay, but why did they pick this spot instead of that spot is unclear. Some places they trenched, and it's not clear whether the trench was following a structure.
Francis votes for using a grader.
Yeah. Or whether they were trying to cross structures. The argument against the trying to cross structures is at no trench at any place on the hill that we've seen did it like tee off. It's always a continuous trench. There's that one spot on that one plane that's right up just over the ridge from where we used to camp.
Brian asked, do you know the bedding plane tilts for that area and the dips?
Theoretically, yes. In general, we do. And
Theoretically, maybe sort of.
The trenching is not clear as to exactly what they were doing. Were they going along the bedding planes, across them, or whether they were worried about the bedding planes? Whether there's a mine not too far away, and it was a fairly significant mine, and the workings underground were near vertical. I mean, they weren't absolutely vertical, but they're a lot steeper than the bedding planes themselves.
David, it's absolutely possible. And Honey Bunny says, I suspect the plane is about 21 degrees of incline.
The bedding planes are.
Shane says, every time I found one of those, they are extremely rich.
Well, that's it. We're still playing right now. One thing, Chris Georgie offered to help us out a little bit. I have a list because in this area there's a number of patented claims. But
Dave Vanderwall says, next time you go up there, take an hour or so and look very hard for what is missing. Most of the time, that's what they were after.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Which is kind of what we've been trying to do for months.
I've been able to figure it out.
Dave, when we say the top of this hill looks like it was carpet bombed, we're not exaggerating. And when I say we have never found a single piece of quartz float in any of these holes or trenches.
There was those crystals down there above Lower Discovery, up on the hill right there.
That one time.
And one spot there were some crystal clusters there. But yeah, it's not.
Lon says, how about a case trencher in combination with an excavator? I did golf construction for many years and loved those people for moving dirt.
A case trencher would probably be kind of overkill, and it's fairly steep, and we've got trees and this and that and the other to work
Shane
around.
says they found the float and were looking for a vein, and Abel thinking it ran horizontal somewhat, but it's vertical, and I guarantee it ain't much bigger than 2 or 3 feet exposure.
Now, you may be true.
That would not surprise me, Shane, but we can't find any. Half the time, we have to dig through 2 feet of dirt to find any bedrock at all.
Yeah.
There are very few rocks sticking up above dirt around here.
And you would think
which
that
is
if they
kind of a
were
problem.
digging up a quartz vein, you'd at least be able to find little pieces of quartz in the mullet
Well, like
piles.
this past weekend, we have an entire field of marmot holes. Okay,
Yeah.
marmots are
We're
burrowing
off a
creatures.
little bit distance looking at something else. Yeah.
We're off elsewhere. Now, these marmots make giant cities underground. We're talking like prairie dog colony type things.
Probably
Okay?
not quite as big or complex, but yeah. They dig
One of
50
the
holes.
things you notice about about these holes, is they bring out all the rock and dirt that they were digging
Yeah.
past. So you would think, and yes, Brian, we've been looking for and noting all the color changes in the dirt. You would think if there were quartz anywhere, you'd find pieces of it in this detritus from the marmot holes.
Yeah.
Nope. None.
I say, just little pieces like this, we would expect to find some. Wherever we have an actual mine, you tend to find a spot where they've piled quartz up, as in like an ore stockpile or something. When we've done our sampling of various rock types and everything and run them through crushers and everything else, the association has been, to this point, pretty clear. The more quartz, the more gold. The more.
Wow, Honey
What's that
Bunny
you
found
call?
some reasonably large chunks of hematite today. Oh, that's the other thing we've been doing, by the way, folks. When you find a tree that has been blown down and still has a big root ball attached to it,
Take a look.
it's always a very good idea to take the dirt out of that tree root, out of the root ball, and see what kind of rock is trapped in it. Hasn't been any quartz there either.
That's amazingly hard to find.
And Shane says epithermal, that's why I keep telling you that. And
Well,
I will not,
we know it's epithermal because the textures on the quartz and the quartz calcite in the disturbed area dump, that's boiling water textures. That's towards the top of an epithermal.
well, Shane, we're sure the quartz is there. We just can't find it.
Yeah. Where is it?
They found it at some point. But, for instance, one of the sites that we looked at, you got to figure this mountain face was what? Probably about 60 feet high, the M1. Like,
Yeah. Well, no, it's not 60 feet. It's about 30 to 40 feet
yeah,
maximum.
this is a face
That they dug into a hill.
that they dug into a hill. It's about 40 feet high and about what? 60 feet long?
Oh, no. 120 feet long.
120 feet long. So we have an entire side of a mountain, 40 feet high, 120 feet long, that's been
Sliced off.
sliced off. So we can see structure. And we were like, yeah, cool. And there's no freaking vein in that structure.
Nope.
There was quartz there.
Yep. We obviously dug quartz out of something.
Yeah, and the same thing was at that spot, Shane. There was quartz at that spot. It was
Stockpile.
stockpiled. There was none in that wall. So,
Yeah. There was a possibility that what they did, there was a fairly steeply dipping quartz structure there, and they dug through it. Because at one spot, it looks like they trenched a little bit. Just this side of the face. So that would be consistent with, okay, we're going to dig into this hill until we go through the quartz, slab it off and slide it down. Then we're going to dig out a little bit at the base there and get it. But,
David Bia says LiDAR. Yeah, if it was in the budget.
yeah, but I say LiDAR is not going to show you what's in the rock. It can show you the surface. And say, I can tell you there's more holes than if all of you folks came out there for a month and dug till you got to the bedrock in the bottom of each hole. You guys would still be out there after a month. Trust me. There are holes and trenches everywhere.
It is
So-
bizarre.
There's only so much we can do. I'm going to suggest the possibility of trying to get an exploration permit this winter so that next summer we could take an excavator out there and literally start trenching some spots so that we can, with a reasonable level of effort,
Well,
come up with some visualization of bedrock.
we would also have to move a lot of dead trees.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's where the permit comes in.
Slick Willie's Willie says maybe it's all gone.
It's a possibility, but if you have a surface of a mountain that's got a lot of holes in it, the chances that they actually got everything are pretty slender. It may be that the pockets are so small that it doesn't justify moving a lot of dirt if you can't actually.
Shane says I dug 5 deep in Arizona because I was digging in placer chasing gold up the wash, and the gold was extremely free milling with no quartz attached. Yeah.
That's it. When you got something like that, and the other thing is around the discovery cabin and the disturbed area, even took a lot of mullock pile samples, screened them down, brought them to me, I panned them down, and hardly any of them had any real detectable gold at all.
One piece of gold I found was a beautiful horn gold. Very first few pieces. Literally picked it up off the top of the vein.
I say it's quite annoying.
Yeah, honey bunny, I mean,
working on it.
the literature we've seen and the geologic reports from the area we've seen indicate a lot of quartz stringer veins in brecciated wall rock and
Yeah.
brecciated host rock. And they also all discuss the quartz voids are filled with crystal clusters.
Well, that
So-
lamellar quartz and lamellar calcite.
And lamellar quartz and lamellar calcite.
That means little sheets parallel to each other.
Yeah, I got a piece over there to show people.
But anyhow, as I was saying before I got distracted a while ago, Chris Georgie, who is very good at doing research. I think it says. No. Okay. She'll get to you in a second there. I can't really read right now.
He can't read crap. Hold
But
on, people.
Chris Georgie is going to do some research. He's good at looking at a variety of databases and this and that. And one of the things that should be helpful to some extent at least is there's a lot of patented claims there, a number of which don't have any obvious large workings on them. But every time you patent a claim, you have to provide a geologic report to justify the issue of the patent. And so by getting copies of those reports, we should find out what the old timers were looking at, saying, this is why I think there's
Francis
something very
says,
clear.
think magmatic segregation, plutonic gold emplacement exposed by orogenic building processes with incidental jasperoid to crustiform excess quartz in later events.
It seems unlikely at this particular location because we are almost entirely in the Big Belt formation. I forget what they like to the Big Belt supergroup, which is deep sedimentary beds. We have a geologic map, a cross section of the area indicating it goes down very deep. There is an intrusion less than 2 miles away, a granitic intrusion, which presumably provided the magmatic waters and potential hydrothermal solutions, which emplaced mineralization in voids in the rock. I say there's a decent sized mine,
Shane,
not too
there's
far away.
all around the base of this hill, Shane, there is all kinds of placer mines.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this entire county is placer.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet if we sluiced, I seriously bet if we dry washed the alley behind the house.
We might get some, yeah. Downtown is sitting on Last Chance Gulch, which was a big placer mining thing. I went out there with Coulter Young from Mining Magnets one time to 10 Mile Creek. Just pulled a random sample underneath the bridge. Yeah, there was a couple specks of gold in there. By the way, 10 Mile Creek is 10 Mile dry creek bed right now, little one.
Really?
Yep, it's dry down there where it goes under the freeway.
Wow.
Yep, was this morning.
That's unusual.
But anyhow, I think we need to try and get a little more guidance as to exactly what the old timers were mining. For example, there's a mine closer than the big one I'm talking about, within a half a mile that had 5 ounce to the ton material. But I can't get a whole lot of information on the details. However, that doesn't mean they're not out there. And so, I say, Chris can hopefully help out on that, and we'll do a little more research in databases and stuff like that. We can also go to Butte and spend an afternoon looking up this area and
They also go to Billings.
reading the stuff there. I don't know if Billings would have anything that isn't on computer, if you know what I mean. The stuff that's actually on paper, that's not accessible by a computer, that I think would be more likely to be in Butte than Billings. What Billings can get a hold of is stuff that Chris is going to be looking through. And as I say, that might be quite helpful, but I think we need to spend a little more time hitting the books, so to speak, get a little more guidance, because there are a couple of larger mines, like the M2, M7, M6, Lower Discovery Cabin, North Adit, things
Well,
like
remember
that.
the grab sample you picked up at M7, the last one, M7 or M8?
That would have been M6. I didn't get anything
M6.
from M7 because I didn't go down there. I've been hiking for a couple hours anyway.
Well, that little grab sample you got actually was not all that bad.
Yeah. But to say, it's kind of hard to tell. But there's a lot of physical boots on the ground stuff that can be accomplished. Currently, we have enough rock out at the mill that we don't need to focus on grabbing more bulk samples. We shall see what we shall see in terms of what we can do on foot and things like that. But I think there's a really good chance that we can get some interest, some good information just from literature research. So we'll work on that right now. That and just milling stuff and refining that. We've also got a bit of an apparent discrepancy between the spot test and the laboratory test on some solutions, and we're trying to resolve that question. We're testing to see whether a sample of known standard solution that's been stable for a couple of years, when we put in clay from, that we scraped off the pad and mix it in there and agitate it and let it contact for a long period of time, whether it takes gold out of solution. So there's other stuff we're doing too.
Yeah, something's going on.
But it's
around
just
there.
driving me crazy. I really want to know, because there's been so many times where I've spent a lot of effort to try and uncover a vein in place.
Well, Shane, the chasing it up the hill is something that I have wondered about as well, because when we're driving back down from there, we're driving along a creek where there was once a mill site, an ore chute that,
Oh, way down there.
way down.
That's all on patented ground.
Well, the thing is, Shane is saying, maybe you could get to the placer area and chase it up the hill. What I was commenting to him about just last week is we're driving down that whole placer area, down this creek. And all the records I've seen show placer down in that creek and that drainage, but no load claims except for those higher areas.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd expect to see, if the old timers had found the good placer they found, you would have expected to see adits in the damn walls.
Not for placer.
Yeah, but they'd be chasing it up the hill.
You look up there, you see those dumps?
Yeah.
50 feet tall? That's kind of a hint that they found something
Yeah,
up there.
but they're way up there. I'm saying there's nothing lower down.
Well, of course there's nothing lower down that they found.
Yeah, Brian, if we could get all the mineral surveys, we're still trying to find them all.
Yeah, that's what we're working on. But that's something that we can only do so much. We're out in the field, we're out at the mill, we still got to live, we got to, take care of ourselves. Today we were visiting a sick friend in the hospital. The usual stuff, it just takes up a certain amount of time. And so that's why we're going to probably not go out in the field next weekend, so we can spend more focus on getting some other stuff done and getting some literature research, because it is getting very frustrating in the field saying, okay, what's going on here? I don't know.
Well, I'm getting frustrated because I want to find a crystal garden.
Well, and it was when we first started mining that dozer dump and getting the quartz out of it, it was running good grade. I mean, it's the sort of thing that it's at least close to profitable to work. It's the scale that we're doing it. And that apparently has changed to the negative. Now, that may be a lot of coarse gold sitting in the mill that we haven't seen yet, but
Well, I'll tell you, I'm still wondering about that clay.
I say, I don't know what's going on, but we got lots of things to work upon. And so I say, we'll probably have to forget the field work for this next weekend in exchange for other types of research. It's kind of annoying. I'm also used to dealing with a desert where, to Greg's saying, you can see what's going on. You just look at the hillside and there's like, the soil's this thick. No big deal at all. And so it's pretty easy to see what's going on, follow trends.
Well, Shane, we're still trying to get a hold of more of the old mineral geologist reports.
Yeah.
We've got quite a few from the area.
Yeah, it's
But with a lot of stuff in storage until the State History Museum opens again.
yeah, that's been a problem. And that's why we think if we go to Butte, because we went to Butte looking for stuff on Montana Beach. Answer, 0. Not even a mention of it. Even though it is named on the U.S. Geographic, USGS topo sheets. There's a name for that mine. Okay? Which you'd think they should have some record. They had that much on it. So this other stuff, the dumps are bigger. There's a mine there that's of significance. There's another mine in the other direction of even greater significance.
There was a major report written that we now have, the metalliferous
deposits of the greater Helena area. That's fine, but that doesn't focus on this one area.
Yeah.
We did get a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
But it's, it's frustrating because there were records.
Well,
you don't know if they're gone.
if time travel were possible, Brian, yeah, it seems to be quite common. A lot of people seem to have the same problem.
What?
And Brian says, wow, I have the same thing here. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well,
If time travel were possible.
the government has also made a concerted effort over the last couple of decades to bury this information.
Yeah.
Because they're environmental preservationists as opposed to mutual, what do they call it, multiple use uh, conservationists. And so the easiest way, I mean, that's why they plug up all these old mines. It's not
Mr.
for
Virtue,
safety.
I am planning to get a library card, and one of the things I want to do when I have a library card is see what kind of old books we have or old newspapers on microfiche in the library around here.
Yeah. So that's,
Because, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of information just plain out got destroyed or got disappeared.
or it's just buried somewhere, and you know,
Yeah.
it's in a box behind the.
If time travel were possible and I had a time machine, I can tell you exactly what era I would be going back to and why.
But yeah, it's interesting. So we're trying to figure this out with very little information and an unclear physical situation. But we should be able to figure it out eventually, and we kind of like to, show you guys the process that we're going through. And you guys have been very helpful too. I appreciate it. Let's see, is there anything else in particular? We got another couple of projects we're not at liberty to discuss that we're going to be working on.
I am going to be continuing to clean my beautiful crystal cluster.
Yeah. And I'm supposed to go out fishing with Bonnie in October.
Well, David, not only finding it's the problem, yeah, it's been written, but a lot of records were deliberately made to go away. Memory holding is a thing.
Well, and a lot of times, the reports that we've seen in general are more general reports, like metalliferous deposits of the greater Helena area. It's covering hundreds of mines, a dozen or, well, more than a dozen mining districts, etc. So,
Yeah, that's one
of
thing.
necessity, you don't get a lot of detail on hardly any
That's
mines.
the one thing we have noticed around here is a lot of the geological survey reports, so to speak, are not individual reports on an individual patented mine. I mean, we had another geological survey of a mining district that covered, probably a dozen or more patented mining claims.
Just give me a general area.
It was one of the first ones that we found for Radersburg, one of the first ones we looked at.
Okay.
And then there's the one that Mr. McCullough put together that you bought over
Yeah.
there. We have a big PDF that was put together by a guy named Robin McCullough, who is one of these huge experts around here, worked for the BLM for 20, 30 years, massive
Bureau of Mines,
geologist.
not BLM.
Now, Bureau of Mines, everything, okay? This guy knows it. If it's and he's a worldwide expert on placer mine deposits in this area, too. I mean, he has written the book on shit. And he compiled hundreds of old geologic surveys from various mining districts in Montana and elsewhere. And he built this nice database of all the information he could find for Montana, which was fine, great, and wonderful. But what it looks like to me is when people wanted to patent claims in a mining district, they'd probably all pooled together and hired some geologist dude to come in and write a geological survey on the mining district that they all then used to get their claims patented.
It's kind of hard to tell, but again, the information is often basically non-existent, or simply, I mean, for example, the one mine that's underneath some of the patent claims we're working on, they have no idea of the tonnage, the grade, or anything. They had a mill.
Francis says, mill site records and old newspaper articles led me to a burned out site with large dumps and tailings that were abnormally high in visible gold that ended up as an active mill site. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if I had to posit a theory here, because of the types of documents that we've gotten in the file that the book that he bought at the Bureau of Mines in Butte, it really does look to me, and the metalliferous deposits of the greater Helena area, it really does look to me like there was enough of a Wild West vibe going on around here that, you know, a mining district would hire a geologist to come in and write a geologic survey of the district, and they would all use that information to patent their claims.
Well, it's awfully hard to tell. And I say, a lot of these things are simply, you got 2 million pages of information. You got to get it to 200 pages. You got to condense it a little bit. Instead of, you know,
Shane, supposedly our history department, which is part of the State History Museum, will be open again next year.
or the year after.
Or the year after.
Yeah.
My next step is
All those
going to
records
be,
are warehoused right now, unavailable.
my next step is going to be getting us library cards at the local library, if only because I want to be able to rent videos.
Yeah, I say it is a bit frustrating, but we're now in a different area where we can kind of do that thorough search of the records of Butte a little better. The guy over there, when we were looking for Montana Bee, was very helpful. He spent, what, half hour, 45 minutes?
Oh yeah, the people in Butte are really helpful.
You know, just searching diligently to find any record, because I had the exact location, I had the name, etc., etc. And he put forth a substantial effort.
Jean-Francois, the last thing I want is an AI. They hallucinate.
But I say so.
I wish they would let me look for the box, Shane. I will tell you right now, if those people at our State History Museum, the historical crew, said, it's in a box, you can find it. You know, if you can find it, you can take notes. Oh, I would so be there. That would be my dream assignment. I'm the kind of person that would love to spend, you know, 40 or 50 hours combing through boxes of old stuff. I love that.
But I say, so that's, again, we're going to be switching a little bit of our focus to that, because we thought we had a spot where we could go out there, fill up a bunch of buckets fairly easily, bring it back, and do good. That isn't proving out to be the case, although it might be kind of an anomaly. Again, theoretically, there's big chunks of gold in the crusher right now.
Francis, I have heard of the book Deep Enough by Frank Crampton, but I have not read it.
Yeah. So, I say that's kind of the state of our search at the moment. And I've got to fix the truck. It's got a dual tank system with a return line from the fuel pump, mechanical fuel pump, and currently it's got two 3-port valves, one for the return line, one for the fuel line, and apparently the valve for the fuel line was selected to passenger side tank, while the line for the return line was selected to driver's side tank. So when we showed up back here at the house, I noticed a smell of gasoline, and I saw a little trickle of gasoline coming out of the driver's side, and when I cracked the cap, it became much more than a trickle. So I got to get that fixed. We're just, not only is it using a lot of extra fuel by pumping it out on the ground, but it's a pretty significant hazard. That shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to check the electrical stuff first.
Francis, it is definitely on my list of books to read. I would like to read more mining memoirs and mining stories to begin with.
So you want to read Deep Enough, huh? I feel so inadequate.
Dude, teenage boy runs away, becomes a miner. Who would want to read that? Hello.
Anyhow, um, and that's it. We got a couple other projects we're working on which we can't discuss.
Well, funny enough,
Well,
it's
that's-
not really about mining except peripherally, but there is a book called The Girl from the Gulches
Uh-huh.
by Mary Ronan. That is amazing.
Very nice about the history of Montana. She came here, what, in about 1870?
Yeah, she and her father, she was a young girl, you know, when they came west, and her dad was selling supplies and things in the mining camps around here in Helena. Her husband, when she finally got married, ended up first owning the Independent Record newspaper here in town, and then he ended up being the head of the Indian Bureau
Out there at Flathead
out at Flathead.
for
And
about 10 years. Yeah.
it was a really, really interesting story because, you know, there aren't that many women of that era that wrote memoirs, and there aren't that many pioneer women that had that much of their life that was seen. I mean, she was the closest thing to a strong female public figure that you had, you know.
There's also,
Hi, Chris.
is that Chris Georgie?
Yes.
Hey, Chris. Got a quick question
He
here.
says, good evening, not all here this evening, busy processing produce. Huh,
Processing what?
produce.
Oh, I guess like home canning or something.
Or making stuff for mushroom growing.
I've got the information on those patented claims and mines and stuff. I was thinking probably the best thing to do is just type up an email tomorrow and send it off to you with the detailed information. Does that sound like a plan?
I will be right out to read the paper, Mary.
There's also two mines. One used to have a patented claim, and the other one is, as far as I know, never patented.
Harvest time! Woo-hoo!
And
What was the harvest today? Do we want to know?
so those two that say the one you can probably find the original mineral patent without too much trouble. You know exactly where it is. And the other one would be very interesting to know because both of those two that I'm talking about right there are on unpatented claims that the current claim owner now possesses. So it'd be very interesting to see what's there. Some of the other claims are patented claims he owns, and others are patented claims interspersed in the area, which might give us useful information on what they were looking
Yeah,
for.
we
now.
can figure out a video conference setup one of these days. I'm pretty sure it may be kind of sort of possible.
Yep.
I mean, I kind of know how to do, what was that thing, Zoom? I kind of know how to do Zoom, sort of.
No, we should have the capability.
I'm pretty sure we can figure out Teams. Microsoft Teams is a thing.
But as I say, I got lat lawn on those two mines. So that should make it fairly easy for you to look up what's easily look upable. Thank you for offering the assistance. I can't read the stuff, so Eva's got to let me know when there's something I need to know. My eyes still.
Yeah,
That's
Chris
an ideal.
says chasing down the nearby patents is a good place to start. Mr. Virtue says, I'll move dirt.
First, we gotta.
David says Zoom is great to use.
Say so.
Well, we've done Zoom before. I mean, I'm not unfamiliar with Zoom.
Yeah, I say we should be able to do that. Why don't I send you that email tomorrow? Because we got 2 days worth of work to do tomorrow. and
We have a lot to do tomorrow.
then we got 3 days worth of work to do out at the ranch.
I'm thinking we need to get out there super early. We need to get out there early Wednesday morning
That would be good.
and really try to get that tank filled Wednesday.
It's going to be interesting to see what the weather is too.
And we also need to get another reading. Chris says, no problem, I speak maps pretty well. If anything comes up important on the screen, I will read it to
Well, I say if I just have my map where I can look at it and give you a lat long or something like that, I just didn't have that available to me. When I was on the phone up there. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with that fire too, because that could change the plans. Lauren has some equipment that's in the potential danger zone of the fire. So at any moment I might get a phone call. It's like, you know, grab your stuff, mount up. We got to go snatch some things. Although
Honey Bunny says she cut a 19-inch tree with a sawzall today. Yeah, you would be a little bit tired from that.
yeah, I hope it was a corded one. Otherwise, you went through a lot of batteries. We had to cut a couple of trees this weekend, you know, fallen ones that were kind of in the way of some stuff. And because of the fire danger, any power tools, you know, like chainsaws and stuff are forbidden right now. That's another good reason to kind of stay out of the forest next weekend too. We're at extreme fire danger alert.
They are right now. Yeah.
So, as I say, it's one of those things. We got some stuff to get caught up on, and then we'll get back at it in terms of getting up.
Honey Bunny says, I have only cords, but I have about half a mile or more of cords. My kind of person. I'm
Well,
a fan of cords.
it doesn't take much of a generator to run a sawzall either.
Oh, and you got to show them my crystal cluster again now that Chris is here.
Okay, Chris.
Hopefully Chris is still here right now.
I'm sure he is. He usually doesn't tune out that fast. That's one of them, Chris.
Oh, you got to admit, that's a beautiful exuberant.
It is. It is.
Oh, I want to look at my dude again. Oh,
Anything else?
look at the back with that lemon.
Does anyone have any questions or subjects to bring up there? Chris said something.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a beautiful
He
crystal.
said something. What did he say? I
Yeah,
can't see.
very nice.
Okay.
It is just gorgeous. Kodak says, hey, all fire damage have to do hydraulic placer mining, mine, and put out fires. Hi, Red Wing. Hello, hello. Now you can show off my crystal cluster to everybody.
This is one of the crystal clusters she's getting out there. This one cleaned up pretty nice. So anyhow,
It's beautiful.
yeah, there's not enough water for hydraulicking up there. Even the right now, even pretty much steady flowing streams are dried up. So that's the first time I've ever seen 10 Mile Creek dry at the freeway there.
That is really bizarre.
Yeah,
And the rivers are looking pretty low, too.
it's pretty dry and hot right now. Absolutely.
Not looking good.
That's where I think our solution's going. It's just evaporating.
You want the pond cover on, huh?
Well, where did the leak suddenly appear this spring that wasn't there? I mean, this summer that wasn't there this spring. You know, this spring we couldn't get rid of the solution. The big change has been the
Jean-Francois, I believe Bear showed me that video of the crystal store
yep.
that you sent. It's very pretty.
Picture. Yeah. You got some nice stuff. We're kind of spoiled, Jean-Francois, as I mentioned. When we used to be in Tucson and the Tucson Wreck and Gem Show, we could walk from our house 2 blocks and see 1,000 times what was in that picture. Seriously.
Do you remember those 8-foot tall amethyst geodes?
Oh yeah, just some amazing.
It was a
stuff.
pair of amethyst geodes, 8 feet tall, and I mean literally. See my arm there?
Yeah.
There were crystals in that geode that were
Size
as
of your
big
cup.
around. Yeah.
Anything important to read to me?
No. Jean-Francois says he shot the video himself. Yeah, Bear showed me the link.
Yeah. I say, it's just amazing. The Tucson Rock and Gem Show is, I don't know how big it is now. I think Munich was giving it a run for its money, but I mean,
Well, after
one of
what
the
happened
biggest in
with
the world.
Kodak and the homeless and everything, after what happened with the COVID and the homeless,
Mhm.
because the Gem and Mineral, the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show used to be huge. We're talking, 40 or 50 venues, 3 solid weeks of gem and mineral stuff.
And each venue
From around the
having
world.
anywhere from 30 to 500 vendors.
I mean, basically, stuff from all around the world pouring into Tucson. We're talking tens of millions, 50 million, almost $100 million in business in 3 weeks, just in terms of the hotel rooms, the shuttles, the food, the rocks and gems and jewelry and all that crap being sold.
Yeah.
And then downtown started getting overrun with aggressive homeless people that the city and the mayor weren't doing anything about, and the police weren't doing anything about. And then COVID happened, and basically, that was kind of it.
Yeah, it's sad.
And yeah, Mr. Virtue, we're spoiled because, first of all, you saw everything at the Gem Show. I mean, one year the Gem Show, there was one venue there, I forget who it was. It was a professional gem and mineralogical association ran it. And it was the place where you'd see things like gold in opal matrix and shit. We're talking seriously cool stuff. One year, they set up the Amber Room from the Hermitage Museum in Russia. The entire Amber Room.
Okay. It wasn't the real one.
No, the entire Amber Room came over.
Oh.
I mean, we're talking stuff like this. Another year,
Could I interject for a second?
hold on, no. Another year, they had, like Princess Di's entire crown jewels, they had a Harry Winston exhibit, the guy that does amazing jewelry. It's amazing the shit that you see in Tucson, or you used to.
Anyhow, as I was going to say, you can type this out. I have another YouTube channel. I haven't used it in years. It was for private stuff, fishing videos and things like that, called Buddha Bear's Den. Not in one word.
I know it's not in one word. I wasn't putting it in one word.
Well, it looks like it's me. But anyhow, Buddha Bear's Den. And so if you want to see what that looked like, or if you want to see, my brother and my bass fishing trips to Mexico or something, you can go to that. And
Yeah, there isn't much on it, but there is a short video there that shows one of the minor gem show
yeah,
venues.
she had a friend who was in the hospital, and so we were making a little video. So literally just walked from my backyard and spent 30 minutes
Yeah.
walking through stuff literally a stone's throw from my house. More like a pellet gun trajectory, but yeah. I mean, within a good baseball trajectory,
Yeah.
you know.
No,
And-
I mean, the stuff that used to show up, I don't know what Tucson is like these days, but the stuff that used to show up at the gem and mineral shows
yeah,
was just
it was amazing.
freaking awesome.
It was incredible. So yeah, if you're curious, it's worth it. You know, to just take a quick look at that because it's just amazing.
Well, it
Geology.
probably sucks rocks now because everything in Arizona sucks rocks.
Yeah, but it's on video. It's on the internet. It's forever.
Yeah, that's true.
Been preserved.
But anyway, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah. This sucks not being able to read.
Yeah. Well, I don't want you straining your eyes, and you got to remember to use your eye drops too.
I did. I remembered when we were visiting George, I still have the things in my pocket. As a matter of fact, I put the, whatever you call it. No, not that one. Steroid drop in now. Oh, got an antibiotic and a steroid drop. In terms of comfort, it's
Honey
doing
Buddy
fine.
says, Hard Rock University, shall I post now?
Not just yet. We got to see what's going on here. Are you going to do anything on the tinfoil hat report?
No, I have not had a chance to check anything. An inch of rain a week? Wow, Shane, that's pretty damn good.
Where are you at?
Down there in Arizona, I believe, or somewhere like that.
Uh,
No, it's Black Hills. Maybe. I'm sure Shane will tell us. We did have a couple of storms, what, last week? Or we're expecting rain on Wednesday or Thursday.
Yep. I'll say we may get a little. They could use some here. I'm kind of hoping we get a good, good little short gully washer up there at the disturbed area to wash off that face that I dug out. That would be kind of nice. I need to remember to bring a brush of some kind with me, and we always have, you know, like 8 gallons of canning water with us.
Well, that's
That
pretty
would be a
good,
problem.
Shane. I wish we'd get like an inch of rain a week for
We
4 or
could-
5 weeks.
we could
We could
use it here.
certainly use it right now.
Oh yeah.
Well, maybe we'll get dumb lucky and get lots of snow this winter,
Yeah.
at least in the higher elevations. A toilet bowl brush, huh?
Actually, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Well, we've got one,
Oh, I know.
and we can get one for mining at the dollar store.
That's what I was saying.
Oh wow! 0 rain all summer in the hot, dry Mojave Desert.
Well, luckily the vegetation is too far apart to sustain a flame front. Yeah, when we met those Forest Service people on the way out this weekend, I mentioned to them that, you know, the holy grail of forest management would be to find some way of taking all those dead trees and profitably removing them and using for something, because it's just
Well, like I said, you know, if you get any money out of them at all and somebody else does the work, call it a win.
I know currently it's going to cost money to do anything.
Shane says, I will be married to a combine from the 3rd week of September to Thanksgiving. Yeah,
Okay.
corn and soybeans. Cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, Kodak, we'd love it if all the gold just came washing down to us. I'd love it if the rain exposed a glorious crystal garden. That's what I want.
Yep. She loves her crystals.
They're beautiful.
When is the Mineralogical Society's thing too? Do you remember?
The 19th, it's on the calendar.
Okay.
The day after our next doctor's appointment.
I gotta go to the eye doctor tomorrow. So Yeah, that's basically it. We'll kind of keep you posted on our progress on things.
Well, honey, my problem with corn and soybeans is, man, fertilizer intensive. They kill the soil over time, and what they have to do to get the kind of yields they get is just really kind of sad. And yeah, Francis, a landslide would be nice, maybe.
Well,
I mean,
unless
all I want is to see a crystal garden in situ one day. I have never seen a crystal garden in person. I want to. I want to see one that's still in place. And knowing me, I told him already, just my luck. We find a crystal garden in place, and I will just be sitting there staring at it in awe, and I will not want to harvest it. A gold slide would be cool, Kodak.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, the news continues to be interesting, and so it's hard to predict anything, but you just keep.
Well, Brian says he's working on the ozone pre-treat project. Huh?
How's that working out?
And Shane says it'll be one of 4 combines running, and he'll cover between 7,500 and 10,000 acres. Just your machine. Yeah, that's a big combine.
Well, it's a lot of hours, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he'll be working
Dawn to dusk.
12, 16-hour days. Yep.
Yeah, you would have plenty of sulfur over there in the Mojave. Well, we will be very interested in hearing the results of those tests, Brian, because I intend on playing with that glycine this winter if I can't get to it before then. That's one of the things I want to do this winter.
Now, another thing I was thinking of, from a practical standpoint, it is highly likely to be much easier to get a simple gravity extraction process mill permitted than any kind of chemical. So my thought was, let us suppose that one had a mill somewhat similar to what we've got, but eliminate the agitation tank. Build your leach pad out there and just use it to recover the water while you process a bunch of ore using the gravity circuit, and you're stockpiling your sand and scraping off your slimes and all that other stuff, so that when you're done, you, first of all, will know exactly what's out there, but you would also have the potential ability to change the water with a leaching solution in circuit and just pad leach it. What little one?
Well, you got several comments here. Jean-Francois says an acquaintance structured a project to burn forestry waste in a plasma incinerator. 2 megawatts profitable. He got stopped by environmental considerations. The government didn't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
Kodak says, I still say I'm jealous of the Aussies because there are mountains worn down to flat ground in the mining areas on the Aussie Gold Show. Yeah, that would be cool. Francis says we have more alkaline, but go a couple miles and sulfide copper and iron deposits crop out all over the place. Brian says he'll be running a lot of leach tests with ozone plus glycine and Eco Gold X. Cool. And Shane, yeah, there's a lot of stuff from Goldfields, Nevada at the rock shows, and it is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's another thing that, Brian, that Eva brought up. She was like saying, what happens if you use glycine and Eco Gold X? Good question. Now, the glycine has several potential positives. First of all, it's food grade. Hard for the environmentalists to go crazy over that. B, rapidity of the kinetics. I mean, that stuff dissolves gold faster than Eco Gold X. So in my previously postulated thing where you do your gravity, throw your stuff out there on a leach pad, you're basically getting it ready to leach. And then if you used a highly active, fast kinetics, low toxicity thing like glycine with hydrogen peroxide or something, then you could leach that effectively and then rinse it and walk away pretty easily from an environmental standpoint.
Well, Brian says it shouldn't be a problem, and Shane did verify his mining operations in the Black Hills.
Yeah.
Eastern South Dakota, about 30 miles south of Aberdeen.
The
I want
problem
to get over there again one of these
with
days.
EcoGoldex in Montana is anything with the CN triple bond radical in it, like, and I believe EcoGoldex has ferrocyanide complex. I think it's FeCN parentheses.
Yeah, David, and.
That is considered to be a cyanide leach solution. So it's going to trigger a higher level of regulatory interest than perhaps the glycine. The glycine itself,
Man, you can really smell the smoke now.
I can see having to put up fencing around it and bird netting and/or a just a tarp over top of it to keep away birds and critters and everything else because it's sweet. And so that might be a problem. I don't think it's necessarily going to be toxic to the critters as it would be a real pain in the butt. But I don't know. That would take some research to figure out. But
Shane says, just like an irrigation pivot system here this year.
and so that's why I was thinking it might not be a bad concept because it'd be easy to take a gravity system and feed it onto a pad, and you have your catch pond for the solute for water, which would then become your pregnant pond, and you're just stacking it for leaching, but then your leaching would take place in a much, much shorter time frame. Theoretically, you're going to get higher grade solutions because you're going through a lot more stuff before it comes back out the bottom, things like that. I'm thinking that in the overall scheme of things, it might be a better way of doing it, even though you're not going to get your money quite as fast. If your gravity separation is paying the bills and turning a profit, you're just putting money in the bank out on that leach pad, is my thought.
No, also it would, everything would be in place so that if there was a regulatory change at some point.
Yeah, if it got better. On the other hand, if it got worse, you might have to move quick.
I mean, if it got worse, you might have to move quick, but if it got better.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know, but that was a thought I had. It's like with what we're doing now with an ore, I think we're getting significantly better than 50% in the gravity circuit. However, we're still early in this game. But if you could get 50, 60, 70% in the gravity circuit while stacking the rest for later leaching, that might make a lot of sense.
Brian says ambient ozone speeds up all leaches and gets a 20% better recovery
Yeah.
temperature. Yeah.
That's it. But your glycine leaching solution is going to tend to be more expensive. And with the ozone especially, it's going to be more unstable. So this is why I'm thinking if you had it where you could do it, another thing you theoretically could do is set this would be kind of funny, but essentially you can set a plant out there that works your pad section by section. So where you're putting it into an agitation tank, running it, and dumping it back on the pad like that. Again, just spitballing ideas that are not using standard process flow sheets because,
Well, in theory,
who knows?
is there any reason why you couldn't do all the leaching in the tank and then the leach liquid never goes onto a pad? The leaching happens in the tank.
Then you would need a lot more equipment. Then you would have to have dewatering and rinsing, because you can do that, but then you take your pulp and you run it, like, say, over disc filters and recover your solution and then rinse the pulp and then dispose of the pulp, assuming that gets you below regulatory levels of contaminants. Yes, you can do that.
And
Now
Shane
we're gonna
says,
get
yeah, he's going to
zero.
be spending 10 to 12 hours a day in the seat.
And you would be getting 0 additional recovered gold once it hits the pad. Okay? Because now it's inert,
Mm-hmm.
And that's, not exactly what you want. You want to try and get your maximum efficiency. But, so you got all kinds of possibilities there. You would be building a stockpile of ready-to-treat material. It's also something that you might be able to haul off somewhere else, because now you got enough of it to justify getting a loader and a dedicated truck route, things like that.
So you have a stockpile of material.
Yeah, so you'd have a nice stockpile of material, and you would recover your water while you're doing the processing. So, as I say, there's some possibilities there. Anyone else got any ideas?
Kodak says, I'm waiting for inert to up in price. Yeah. And Jean-Francois is asking Brian, are we talking about bubbling O3 versus adding concentrated H2O2?
I think he was bubbling O3. I think he was actually using an ozone generator.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can get concentrated H2O2 all over the place in many, many different concentrations, but the stuff's pricey.
Yeah, Jean-Francois, he said the half-life of ozone is pretty short. Not surprising.
Yeah, I would love to be making my own ozone. I want an ozone generator.
That'd be kind of handy if you had line power to do it, too.
Yeah, well,
Oh, by the way,
Brian says you can make your own O3 with a cheap generator, yeah?
I broke the front, the rear brake cable on the quad today. First mechanical failure on it.
Yeah, I
So
know
I
that.
replaced it. I'm talking to these guys. Okay?
Yeah, he broke a brake cable on a quad.
Yeah, which is kind of annoying when you're trying to back downhill down a steep slope around a curve. But luckily it's got a foot pedal to the same brakes. Because the other hand grip handle is to the front brakes, which don't work too well when you're backing down a hill. They just tend to slide. But yeah, that's the first actual mechanical failure. Oh, no, wait a minute. We had that spline on that one rear hub
Yeah.
failed that one time. Yeah.
But I will say, after listening to those videos you were watching the other night, apparently these Moto 4s, like the one we've been using,
Yeah.
have a tendency not to break.
It's been pretty reliable. This thing's
David
old.
says you're supposed to stick your foot out.
Not good with a quad. It'll tend to run over it, no matter which direction you're going. Yep.
No, I mean,
That's one of the things you gotta watch out for.
from what the guy was saying on the video, these things tend to hold together real well.
It really seems to be pretty reliable. Yeah, I'm impressed. But I'll talk to the owner tomorrow and see what he wants to do. It appears that you can probably get the appropriate brake cable relatively cheaply, like $20 or less, brand new. I know where I can strip one off of an old one, but overall, I'd rather have a new one. Than one that's 20 years old, been out in the weather that long. And just prefer a new one, but it's the owner's call, what he wants to do.
Well, it'll be really interesting to see how your ozone testing of various types goes, Brian.
And the replacing the cable looks to be real simple. One end is real easy. The other end, I think, is real easy, but I haven't gotten to it yet. Anything interesting there, little one?
Jean-Francois says, take a standard oil furnace ignition transformer, 12,000 volts. Put metal screen on both sides of a glass tube. Put a fan to circulate air through the tube, et voila. Making ozone from the sound of it.
What's the gap between the screens, Jean-Francois? You want to avoid arcing, I'm sure.
Brian says the first test is with a 5-watt generator. Well, that's cool. And you can really smell the smoke outside right
Really?
now. Yeah.
Let me look out the window.
I opened the door
I know you opened the door.
and then he's planning on scaling up to a 50-watt generator.
Yeah, the scratch gravels have almost disappeared.
I didn't take a look around. I opened the door.
Yeah. He doesn't.
He will be right back here at the computer, folks, in a minute. He's looking at the fire. The
Oh.
tube I used was about 3 millimeters thick. So he had about 3 millimeters of space between them. From the sound of it.
Because yeah, 12,000 volts is going to jump a reasonable gap there.
Wow, the scratch gravels have really gone away.
I'm not joking, girlie. I think that Lauren was headed up to the hills over there when I called him just before the live stream. Yeah. What? Oh.
Dielectric constant of glass is high, so a thin tube will do. Okay.
So you're putting one screen inside it. Is there another electrode outside it?
You need to keep the metal screen 1 inch from the tube ends. Catch you later, Kodak. Good night. Anybody says ion generators you can get sometimes at thrift shops can produce ozone. You may want to make a special box to put them in so you can collect the product. And bug zappers do too.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, you just have to capture the ozone that way.
Yeah.
Shane says John Ulrich Goldfields, Nevada has some of the most unique specimens he's ever seen and some beautiful gold jewelry.
Cool.
Jean-Francois says 1 screen out and 1 screen in.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Would the outer screen also be making ozone? So you basically like have a tube within a tube? You'd have a screen, a tube, another screen, and an outer tube? And then you're running the airflow through both tubes?
Brian says my 50-watt generator will need a plastic bag over the end with an air pump in the bag to pump to the reaction tank with the gold ore sulfides. Jean-Francois says the whole thing glows violet.
Yeah. Corona discharge.
Woohoo!
Oh, yeah, that's pretty.
Then I definitely want one since you still haven't given me a Jacob's ladder. You still have not built me a Jacob's ladder. I cannot be a mad scientist without one.
But she can be an annoyed lab tech. Just not a mad scientist.
Bad bear. Bad bear.
Oh.
Well, he still hasn't given me a Jacob's ladder or a Van der Graaf generator.
No.
I don't even have Bunsen burners.
Eh.
Good night, Shane. You have a good one.
Anyone else got anything? Uh,
Jean-Francois says furnace transformers are nasty. They are center tap to ground plus and minus 6,000 BAC on each wire.
uh-huh.
Brian says a 50-watt gen makes a half a liter of ozone per hour.
That should be a fair amount, but I don't know. Trying to process tons an hour would probably be way inadequate. For laboratory scale, be plenty. For pilot scale, sounds a little iffy. Anything else? Yeah, really need to scale it up. Pretty sure.
Well, it would probably scale easily.
I imagine the technology is well enough known that we can run things in parallel if needed without too much trouble.
You know, Brian says that'll stink you out of the room.
Yeah, well, ozone's pretty harsh. It's not exactly non-toxic, although it's not highly toxic. But I think it's essentially kind of like highly irritating to the mucous membranes.
You know, Jean-Francois says furnace transformers are about 250 watts. They will kill you.
What kind of furnace? What kind of furnace uses 12,000 volts?
Probably one like mine.
No. No, yours uses 120 volts, not 12,000.
I don't know, maybe foundry furnaces or electric arc furnaces.
I don't know. I can't read anything. It would kill the mold in the room for sure, you betcha.
Which reminds me, does anybody have any good ideas for algicides for the tank? Any oil furnace?
Oil furnace, huh? Okay.
Okay. So, just so you know, we have an algae bloom. We have an algae bloom in the Eco Goldex pregnant solution tank. This has been driving me effing nuts. Because, of course, if we were not doing leaching and recovery with resin beads, then we could kill this algae really easily with some copper sulfate or something nice like that. But I don't want to introduce anything of that nature into my leaching system. So I am currently looking for something I can use to kill the algae. Yeah, honey bunny, the whole tank turned deep, dark bottle green. We're talking serious freaking algae. It's amazing shit. But yeah, it's like, no, I don't want to be throwing, bleach in there. I don't want to be throwing copper sulfate in there. Well, I don't think it's bioleaching anything. That's the problem. I don't know whether it's hurting anything or not. But I just don't like it being there because the fewer variables that land in this system, the better I feel. The chloride I want to avoid, Jean-Francois. I don't want anything that might introduce chlorides into this system. Because I don't want to be accidentally making gold chloride or silver chloride. And we've had weirder things happen here, okay? I mean, we have really had weirder things happen than that. So I'm not taking any chances. What I don't want in there is any form of copper. And I don't want any chlorides. Otherwise, I would have already been throwing that stuff in there.
My word.
Yeah, OxyClean might work. That's a possibility. Jean-Francois, all of our liquid is kept. Nothing gets dumped in any streams anywhere, so that's not a problem as far as I'm concerned. My big issue is I don't want to introduce any chemicals that may form gold or silver complexes that make my life difficult, because this is before things go through the the stripping circuit and through the resin. So this solution is going to have gold and silver in it. And I don't want to introduce any other metals that could be soaked up by the resin beads, because we already have enough problems with the resin beads. And, having iron in them. Chris, yeah. So hydrogen peroxide will work? Yay! Hydrogen peroxide will work, Chris said. So that means we go to Sally Beauty Supply the next time we're in town.
What's the dosage?
How much hydrogen peroxide? Any idea? Hydrogen sulfate's one I hadn't thought of, but I'm trying to avoid getting sulfurs of any kind in the system too.
Hydrogen peroxide breaks down into water.
Yeah. Well, so far nobody's gotten back to me with the dosage on hydrogen peroxide, but come on over here, Bear.
It's hard.
Chris also says, also test copper amines that may be catalytic and desirable. Huh. What's a copper amine?
I think it's
Crap ton. I asked Chris how much hydrogen peroxide, a crap ton. Well, the reason I asked Chris is because I can get 30% hydrogen peroxide by the gallon down at Home Depot, or I can get 40% hydrogen peroxide cream by the gallon at Sally Beauty
You
Supply.
don't want cream. You want a liquid so it distributes easily.
Chris said until it's dead. Okay, that works for me. And Jean-Francois says ozone bubbling would work too, because ozone turns into hydrogen peroxide in water.
If we don't have a power source that's continuous.
We don't have a stable, continuous power source.
Yeah.
So there is that. But anyway, I will start experimenting, because the algal bloom, when it showed up worse this year than it did last year, and I have no idea why. But it only shows up in the tanks. And my thought is, at the end of the year, when we dump these tanks, we might want to just fill them with water and put a crap ton of hydrogen peroxide in there and disinfect the
Okay, in
tanks.
other words, like when it's getting freezing, we want to fill them with water and let them soak. Seems unlikely to me. When we dump the tanks, it's freezing time. We could theoretically treat them one at a time between now and then.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna.
David, budget may be problem with buying new tank, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my problem with UV, Chris, is I think the UV may actually have caused the freaking algae. These tanks are IBCs. And it should be noted that at the beginning of the season, when these tanks have been covered all winter, when we put solution in them, we did not have a problem with this. It was only when the sun started coming to a place where these tanks were in sustained sunlight all day,
The temperature was warmer.
and
too.
the temperature was warmer, that the algal bloom occurred.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we can definitely try a little hydrogen peroxide. I'm cleaning the tanks out right now one at a time just to get them all clean.
yeah, I wish there was some sort of a brush that we could use to scrub the inside of the damn things.
But anyhow, that's about it, I think.
Yeah.
Anything else, little?
Chris said that's because they got light. He means UVC as opposed to A or B.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what that would do to the plastic, though. That's going to tend to be pretty harsh on the plastic. I don't know how stable it is. You know.
I can't think of anything else. Pressure washer, I want to wash them out real well at the end of the season, personally.
Yeah, that would be the best thing. And just let them dry. You could also wash them out, spray them down with a little hydrogen peroxide diluted to an appropriate non-corrosive level, and then just
Let it
cover
air
them
dry,
up.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
It would also be helpful if you took like black plastic and made an outer covering for the tanks so they couldn't get any light in there.
Chris says, not for the tank, for the solution. Ah, the UVC for the solution. Huh.
Yeah, you do that.
So you don't keep contaminating the tank. Yeah. I already told him next year I want to do something about this because this algae is bothering me. I'm more worried about the clay at the moment than the algae because I'm side-eyeing that clay.
It'd be nice to have line power too.
Well, yeah, it would be nice to have a lab that I wasn't sharing with pack rats and mice. And
Now we do not know the pack rats. Chipmunk we think we got rid of.
it would be nice to have a lab that had climate control
Yeah,
of some kind,
above freezing would be nice.
relatively. I mean, line power would definitely be nice. Walnut pressure wash and rinse.
I don't think we need to go to walnut bead blasting. You know, I think just pressure washing would work okay.
Quite possible.
Anyhow,
No,
so
it doesn't work that way.
I'm getting tired. So let's go ahead and. Is there? What does that say?
It says walnut pressure wash and rinse, like to clean off automotive paints. Yeah.
Yeah, except we'll probably blast right through the plastic of the UBC.
The IBC. Yeah.
Yeah, the IBC. I say if it'll take off automotive paint, it'll probably go right through an IBC.
Well, it would be kind of cool to find out. But anyway, you're getting tired, so.
Yeah. Anybody got anything to bring up here before we potentially call it? Hold on, honey bunny.
I don't see anything new.
Yeah, it takes about 30 to 60 seconds. There's a
Yeah,
delay
I
in there.
actually could change that delay, by the way.
Yeah, we'll make it as short as possible.
Okay, I will do that on the next live stream.
And Chris, I'll be sending you an email with basic details. The two mines that I don't have the mineral survey numbers for. I'll give you lat lon and names. In one case, the lat lon is assumed. I'm pretty sure I've got the location of the name.
Well, take care, everybody. Good night, everybody. Good night, David.
Yeah, don't overstress your tailbone there, Chris, when it comes to harvesting everything. You know, you're still healing up. Okay, honey bunny, hit it. So, we're going to be, I say, probably doing more research and stuff this week and see what we can find out more detail.
Not tonight, Mr. Virtue. I'm so busy trying to run things over here, I haven't had a chance to look anything up. Happy prospecting and keep it safe out there. But, by the way, everybody, yes, next week I will give a tinfoil hat report.
Alrighty. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for all the help and the information. And y'all have a safe week and take care of yourselves. He's typing, so I guess we're not. logging off yet. I don't know what's going on.
There we go.
What?
I just wanted to make sure everybody finds out that I'm giving a tinfoil hat report next week.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.